817-779-0985. If you're coming home from the game tonight, you want to react to it, this is the only spot to do it in town. We're also on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com and just search 98.5 The Sports Hub, click live. You can join us in the chat. There's already people in there giving their opinion tonight on the Celtics loss, and we'll welcome in Cerrone Battle, who's joining us here on our extended coverage tonight. What's going on, Cerrone? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing pretty good, Joe. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I want to take the disclaimer off that they were without Jaylen Brown and Porzingis tonight.
Yeah.
Because I know that's easy to lean on. This was a winnable game. This team had a lead late in the game. And, as much as they had trouble scoring, they had so many defensive breakdowns. But just, I don't know. I also thought Steph Curry won the game. Mm-hmm. And Buddy Hield hit a big shot where the bench outplayed the Celtics bench. So there are a lot of things I want to give the Warriors credit for. At the same time, the Celtics did do some good things tonight, but they blew a lead. They had a lead in the fourth quarter, and they blew it. That's the story.
Yeah. I mean, they had it. Too many blown assignments on defense, excuse me. You can't – if you're going to lose somebody on defense, just make sure it's not Steph Curry. And it happened 3 times late in that game within the last 5 minutes, 6 minutes of that game. And that was really the difference. And when they didn't blow coverages – because of the rotating and fear of Curry and Hield, it got guys out of position. And you saw Looney, who I thought was low-key the player of the game, the way he closed it out. Every time you forced the Warriors into a crazy bad shot, Looney was all alone under the basket for the offensive rebound and the putback. I think he had 3 of them in the fourth quarter and probably in the last 5 or 6 minutes himself. And I thought that was huge. But I think the turning point of the game, to me, in the fourth quarter, was the foul on Curry shooting the 3, which should have been a foul on the screen. But I think that got Curry going, that got them some momentum, and they never really looked back after that play, that easy 3 points you give Curry there. So, I mean, again, that's the Celtics defense making mistakes and Golden State capitalizing on it. And I think there's too many breakdowns in the fourth quarter for them tonight.
I think some of the breakdowns were because of who was in the game. I think Keita, although Neemias Queta had a coming out party, right? I mean, he had 14 points and 8 rebounds on the stat sheet. It looks great, the 2 blocks as well. Mm-hmm. But he, missed a couple of defensive plays. I think they went after it. Although he gave them a spark, and again, Drew Holiday missed a couple of plays. Tatum missed on one screen. I mean, it was pick and roll. It was screens. It was defense tonight. I thought they did struggle offensively, too. Don't get me wrong, but down the stretch there, let me just – do you think that it got in their heads, the Curry with the ball? And, because this is what Steph Curry does. He makes a living off of this. Late in the game with a lead, he can hit a big shot and a 3 to, just kind of put you to sleep. But I felt like whenever he had the ball, everybody was kind of panicking a little bit. And just the fact that he had that and then the offensive rebounds, to your point – I just felt like they just were a little erratic in their defensive alignments.
Yeah, and you're right with Neemias Queta. He was the one guy who didn't have experience dealing with Steph Curry in crunch time. And there was times where he would get stuck in no man's land. He wasn't boxing out. He wasn't contesting. So if he's not doing either one of those, then he has no real value out there on the court. He's not fast enough to rotate out to Hield, to Curry, and some of the other guys that was out there on the perimeter. And if he came out too fast, you saw the Gary Paytons and those other guys go right past him. So he was kind of caught in no man's land. That was his first real Curry experience. And if you look down the stretch of that game for the Warriors, it was Steph Curry, it was Draymond Green, it was Looney and Wiggins. They just knew where to be. They knew where to set the screen. They knew where to rotate. That was just their veteran lineup being in the right place at the right time. Draymond doesn't do anything offensively, but if you just watch him, he's always freeing other people up, telling people where to go. He's the quarterback of that team and has been for a decade now. And those little things made the difference with the Celtics because of the injuries and guys being out. They didn't have their 5 out there that can communicate without talking.
Yeah.
And you saw it in key stretches down the stretch in that game.
Yeah, Missoula after the game said he attributes the Warriors' late game offensive rebounds to the Celtics' focus on Curry. He goes, when you have an alertness to Curry being in shifts, trying to stop him as a team, they do a good job of cutting behind you. That's what happened, right? And you're right. They didn't have the right 5 guys. And this is why I don't want to bring up the fact that Porzingis and Brown weren't out there. Yes, they weren't at their full strength, but you know, you want everyone to be on the same page, especially defensively. And although I don't want to crush Keita. Like, I think he was they helped him in the game because of his play tonight.
Oh, of course.
But they took advantage of it. This is why he can't be on the court late in games. But Cornette got hurt, right? They had no other option.
Yeah. You had to play him or you had to go small and just put Horford out there. But when they got Draymond and Looney back there, you're risking giving up all those rebounds, which they did late in the game. And I think one thing, they had this game won. They had I won't say the chance. They had this game. They had it. They figured them out. They started making their shots. The way this game started out, there's no way you would have told me they would have scored as many points as they ended up with. And they still scored points down the end to kind of keep the game closer than it probably should have been. But I think as good as Derek White played, he bailed Steph Curry out by taking 16 three-pointers. Steph Curry was fresh late in the game because you didn't make him work on the defensive end. You got to take Curry. In the third quarter, they did. They made Curry work. He had it going in the third, but you seen him come out with like 4 minutes left, and they showed him on the bench. He was gassed because they started punishing him in the paint. They started working him down low. They started making him play defense, and he had to come out of the game. Fourth quarter, they stopped doing it. And I think Derek White, he took 19 shots and 16 of them were threes. I think him and Holiday should have really went to work on Steph Curry and made him work more, put him in some foul trouble, get him out of the game, take his legs away from him. It's funny. It's deja vu, man. We had the same conversation when they played the Warriors last year, and they took 57 threes and lost the late game because Steph buried them, and they didn't make Steph work. You got to make him work, make him tired, take his legs away, and you can get the win, especially when you have a lead. And I don't think they did that down the stretch and kind of went away from what was working in the third quarter. And he had it going, and it put everybody in panic mode, and they couldn't recover from it.
That's a constant. They last year did not do this. Remember, on the road, late in the game, he had 5 fouls, if you recall,
and didn't take them. Yep.
They never went to the basket on him. They did it again tonight, and I don't want to credit Steve Kerr. I don't want to do it, but I think I have to tonight. And this is what makes. By the way, this is why when people, I hate the greatest of all time conversations. Okay, Steph Curry is a generational talent who can shoot the basketball. He was in their head tonight. They forgot about the backdoor cut. Like, they forgot about his passing ability. And yes, he's not the greatest defender, right? But he knows all the tricks and trades. And yet they still find a way to eliminate him and go away from him. It happened last year. It happened this year. And I know, Skaz, I don't want to do it, but I got to tip my cap to Steve Kerr, man.
Yeah, well, Steve Kerr. Go ahead, Skaz. I'm sorry.
No, I think we might be saying the same thing, but I think Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit for tonight. I thought Steve Kerr had a great game plan without Jaylen Brown. They blitzed Tatum on everything, every pick and roll. Every time he got the ball, he was getting doubled, which is something they're not used to seeing because Tatum and Brown are usually out there together. But with Brown out, Steve Kerr saw an opportunity. Obviously, people will say what they want about Draymond, but he is a Hall of Fame level defensive player. Just the way he sees the game, quarterbacks the game on the defensive end, and you just see those little things. Steve Kerr saw something, Draymond saw something. Their defensive game plan tonight was very good, and I think Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by that alertness, Cerrone, is like they coached it that way, but they also executed it that way.
Yeah. They did, and that's a veteran. I hate to cross sports here, but you're looking at Mahomes and Kelsey and Andy Reid. This is, Kelsey looks slow, he looks old, whatever. He's Draymond Green, You need 5, I'm going to give you 5. You need this layup, you need this screen, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to make this play. We're going to make the right plays. Okay, we got 2 minutes left. There's only going to be 10 plays, 10 possessions. We're gonna make the best of these 10 possessions. And they did that. If you get a veteran team that's won so much, late in games playing inspired ball like this, they're gonna be dangerous. And Steph, like you hit the nail on the head, Joe. They're so afraid of his shooting. They forget that the guy can get layups. He got the running layups down low. He got the backdoor layup on Tatum. He can draw fouls. He ain't missed a free throw all season. Yep. I mean, that's an insane skill.
He can move without the ball.
Yes.
And it was masterpiece. It was just, I'm impressed constantly, right? Remember the USA game? Like the shots that he took late in the game?
Yeah.
He continues to just, impress, but, was he the best player on the floor tonight? I think so.
He could, yeah. At key times, he was. He was. I mean, and he used that against the Celtics. They're so worried about me. We're going to get buckets everywhere else. Like I said, Looney found money. He gets layups, 3 layups off putbacks. That's backbreaking. First half, you're so worried about Steph Curry. You leave Kyle Slow-Mo Anderson for 3 threes. He hits. He only has 7 threes all season. Yeah. He hits 3 tonight. You do the same thing early in the game. You sag off Kuminga because you're so worried about Buddy Hield and Steph Curry. Kuminga hits 2 threes tonight. He only had 3 coming into the game tonight. So you get all these bonus buckets. Gary Payton got layups earlier in the game because you're so worried about everybody else. And that's what Steph does. And I think the only reason that people aren't picking the Warriors to represent the Western Conference or whatever, because even 3-4 games in the season, Steph was already hurt. Andrew Wiggins is as good as everybody else played. He didn't look right tonight. It looked like something was wrong with him. It's, can this team do it 4 times in a 7-game series against a team like Boston? Can they still hit those shots? Can they get 50 points in the paint like they got tonight? But in a single game moment, in a tight game with that lineup with Steph and Draymond and Buddy Hield playing the Klay Thompson role right now and that coach, look at the assistant coaches on the Warriors bench. Those are all good coaches. They're going to figure out plays and get the right thing done at the right time. And you saw it again tonight. So, yeah, you have to give the Warriors credit, because I think as bad as the Celtics kind of blew that lead, the Warriors went in there and took that thing, man. They came out there prepared tonight, like Scott said, man. They were ready to go, and it showed early and it showed late.
Yep, they started well defensively. They gave up 40 points in the first half, and then late in the game, with a lead, they absolutely closed it out. Let's take a couple of calls, and then we're here till midnight tonight. We'll react to this all night long. Cerrone Battle's here. We got Benny's in Oxford. Hey, Benny.
Hey, what's going on, guys? More of a frustrating loss tonight, and like I said, I agree with Cerrone. I know the Warriors took it. Tatum played well. Tatum at the end fell asleep a few times. Like a few of those defensive lapses involved Tatum, him and White, him losing Hield. But I'm not going to blame him. I was getting annoyed a little bit with the play calling, the plays we were running with the bigs setting the screen, so Kata setting the screen. Yeah. Because they allowed the Warriors to blitz Tatum, and Tatum had 7 foot around him. I don't know how tall Looney is or whoever else. Like, I wanted to see more White setting the screen, or Holiday, or Pritchard, whoever was guarding those guys. So that way, if Tatum can see over them and hit White or hit Holiday on a roll, and you have better decision makers with the ball in the hands at that point. Like, if he hits Kata rolling, Kata at the 3-point line isn't really doing anything. So I wanted to see that adjustment by Joe.
My only thing on that, Benny, is I don't know if they have Kata up to speed on, like, he's a big, right? So he knows to play in the paint or on the post. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he knows yet that when he moves up, maybe the help's not behind him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just think he's not ready for that yet. They haven't communicated, I don't think, that well enough with him.
Yeah. No, I meant more on the offensive end, too. Like, Kata setting the screen for Tatum when they were doing that. They were allowing them to blitz Tatum.
Yep, they blitzed him, and then he couldn't throw it over. You're right. He couldn't throw it over to him. They did on one play. They gave him an alley-oop dunk. But, yeah, they didn't do it enough, and they should have did it on Curry. Like, pass it fast, get it back to him, drive to the hoop, try to look for the mismatch in the end. And Horford had Curry on him a couple of times in the post.
Bunch of times.
But he was like, he would reach in, and then Horford would have to throw it out. I know, at least I'll say this. Horford identified it right away. It's just Curry played great on those plays.
Yeah, he did. I'll give Curry his credit, his due. Curry played great tonight. I think we let him off the hook, too, a little bit.
Thanks, Benny. Appreciate it. Yeah, you mentioned that, Cerrone. I saw it a couple of times that it was almost like they wanted that matchup, Horford versus, and then once he would it would be deep, and then they would kind of wait for the steal, right, or wait for the pass. I don't know why he didn't try to jump stop and kind of, I don't know. I think they just kind of felt, I don't know. I feel like Curry was in their head.
Yeah, he was on both ends. He baited you on the defensive end because you see the clear mismatch. And then when you go to make those passes, I don't know how many steals they had tonight, but I know they had 10 turnovers in the first half they forced. Curry had 4 or 5 steals by himself on those reach-ins and stuff like that. But the Warriors played that way. They bait you into those. They baited Tatum into those jump passes that he was doing. And they do that because I would bet money that the Warriors might have the most athletic unit in the league of rotational guys. When you have Kuminga and Wiggins and Gary Payton, those guys, in Looney, and Draymond's not athletic, but he's so smart. He kind of anticipates. He kind of sees things coming. When you have those guys in the passing lanes, they're all as big as Tatum. They're all as fast as Tatum, just as athletic as Tatum. So when you pass that ball in the passing lanes, they're getting to it. Early in that game, early and late in the fourth quarter, the Celtics didn't just miss shots. The Warriors were getting out on jumpers so fast. They were getting from the paint to the three-point line. I'm like, man, the guys are they're just super athletic getting out there, almost getting a piece of every single shot. And that's the way they built that team, and that's why they play defense like that, because they're so athletic. So you see Curry on Horford down the block. You think you could just dump it down there. By the time that ball gets down there, one of those guys is going to be in the passing lane, getting a hand low. Somebody's going to be high attacking the rim, and then they rebound. And that's what they do. Can they do it all season? I don't know. Can they keep up with this energy all year? I don't know. But tonight, they absolutely did it. In the Celtics, look, they didn't have the horses to match the athleticism. And then Hauser going out with the eye thing kept them from spacing the floor, I think, late in that game as well, too. So a bunch of little things, but I think the Warriors went in there and took that game, even though we thought the Celtics were in control. The Warriors came in there and took it late, and you got to give them their credit.
Absolutely. Tip my cap to the Golden State Warriors tonight. All right, we'll have more on this. We'll break it down. We got all night here, Cerrone, so we'll break it down. We'll continue to take calls at 617-779-0985. We're on YouTube as well. We'll take a quick look at the Sports Hub headlines and get more into tonight's Celtics loss next.
Sports Hub headlines.
118-112. Celtics fall to Golden State at the Garden. They got 32 points from Jason Tatum and 26 from Derek White, but it wasn't enough to hold off Steph Curry's 27 points. Also off the bench, Buddy Hield had 16. Celtics had a 7-point lead with 6 minutes to go and blew the game. They're back in action on Friday night. The Patriots back out on the field today. They're preparing for the Bears on Sunday. Injury report is out. Drake May's not listed on there. Kyle Duggar is, though. And the Bruins back in action tomorrow night against Calgary. And Bruce Arena named the new San Jose Earthquakes manager and sporting director.
These are just his pregame.
They've been getting wholesale deals for years.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hall.
Steph into the front court. Challenged by Derek White. Draymond sets the screen. Horford jumps out at Steph Curry out near half court. Steph, 2 dribbles with the right hand. Push pass for Buddy Hield. Corner 3. Got it.
See, you go to try to guard one guy. And Steph Curry's smart enough to utilize other weapons.
All right, back here at 98.5, the Sports Hub. It's Joe Murray, Cerrone Battle here. We're going to take you till midnight tonight. Cerrone, before the game, I was talking about how I thought Golden State would be a tough game for the Celtics tonight for a couple of reasons. They were the number one team defending the perimeter, and the Celtics were right up there, of course, but. It was fascinating because, first, they are the 2 best three-point shooting teams in the league, right? Boston averaged 19 threes per game. What do they have? What do they have tonight? They had 14 tonight. So credit the Warriors defense for that one. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was, when it comes to defending the three-point line, Golden State was number 1. Looking at it right now, Boston wasn't bad either. But, what did you think about the perimeter defense from Golden State tonight? And I wanted to bring it back to, like, when we were growing up, right? I wasn't a ball handler, I was a big, but when you would do these drills where you'd get the ball over half court and then 2 people would double you right away. Now, they want you to not use your dribble or try to fight through it, right? Tatum, at times when they were firing at him, it was almost like he was trying to split the double team. Right, which was kind of causing him to turn the ball over, or he would get into that spot and they would kind of block, where they couldn't get through him. He'd try to dribble it back out. I felt like that pressure was more on Tatum. I felt like Tatum wasn't. I guess he could have been a little bit better at it. He had some times where he found wide open guys who didn't knock down shots, but I felt like he was trying to split the defense, I guess, instead of trying to make the pass and get the ball back and then penetrate towards the hoop.
Yeah, I think one thing he has to realize, I'm pretty sure he does, but sometimes it's hard to shake old habits. He isn't the thin guy, quick guy he was when he first came in the league. Jason Tatum is a totally different human being than he was when he first came in. He's a big guy, long arms, really wide now, real heavy. He's taller, but he still tries to do the smaller, quicker things in those situations. And the Warriors, like I said, putting Wiggins and Kuminga running at him, guys that are his size, it's real hard for him to split that. Or they put a little guy like Curry, so when he puts the ball on the ground, the little guys always have an advantage. And then they were using the half-court line as another defender, so he couldn't go back. So you seen him making them jump passes, and they would pick him off or whatever, get a hand on him. And he was walking himself into traps early in that game. To his credit, though, to where you can see the maturity in him, third quarter, he came out and was more of a catch-and-shoot guy. White, Holiday, you guys move the ball. I'm going to catch and shoot around the top of the key. I'm going to set the screens and watch them roll off me. Bang, he gets 17 points in the third quarter. He's getting open threes at the top of the key, and he figured it out. He ended up shooting a high percentage, having a pretty good game. A really good game for the way they were playing him. But I think he figured it out kind of late. If he would have figured it out early on, I don't think the Warriors would have had a lead in this game. Or when the Celtics had him like 14-3 or something like that, if he would have figured it out at that moment, I think the Warriors, like most NBA teams, they probably would have caved early and went on and rest for the rest of their trip. But they allowed them to hang in the game because of those turnovers, the 10 in the first half, whatever it was, and Tatum still kept walking into it. I think he should have, you're right, he should have let the guards bring the ball up, and all of them shouldn't have been trying to dribble through that defense and move yourself, move the ball, get open shots. They figured it out in the third quarter, but I think by then it was already a ball game and it was too late.
Well, you know what I think it was is, you know how it works. Like, all right, they just scored a basket, you outlet it, and someone might bring it up and then pass it to you over the line, and it's just kind of a two-man game right there, a lob back and forth to each other. It was always Tatum and White. You know, I don't know why maybe they just didn't try to have Tatum run around, baseline or just kind of just kicking around while the guards handled that, and the reason why I think maybe they didn't, I thought Drew Holiday was dealing with something. He has a wrap on his left leg. If you look at it, maybe it's a hamstring. I don't know. I'm speculating. Yeah. He did not carry the ball up the court. The three of us were in the back studio talking about it. Like, why wasn't Holiday bringing the ball up? It was constantly Tatum and White. They never showed a different look. I'm just being critical because they never.
Oh, no, you're right.
They never showed a different look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I was screaming about it on Twitter. Get the ball out of their hands. Put the ball in the guard. And at times they had Pritchard out there with both of them. Let Pritchard bring the ball up. Yeah. Everybody clear out. Let the little guy bring the ball up. And in today's NBA, if you try and reach for that, it's a foul every time. And let him bring the ball up, or just skip the ball around quickly. Move the ball, and they did it in stretches. And every time they did, it worked. There was the one play where it was like a mad scramble where Holiday would drive, kick, Tatum would drive, kick, White would drive, kick. Then they get the offensive rebound, swing, Tatum 3, bang. And they did that over and over again. And it was like, the Warriors, they can't handle it. And as soon as the game got tight, it went right back to old habits of, okay, let's walk the ball up. Let's bring it up. There was times when Holiday was pushing the pace, getting into the paint, and then getting action off of that, but they didn't do it enough. And the reason Buddy Hield kind of is becoming a journeyman in the NBA is because he doesn't defend. So when he's in the game, I'm going at him or I'm going at Curry, and I'm making them react to that. And I think too many times late in the game, they didn't attack Buddy Hield. They didn't attack Curry and push the pace at them and make everybody rotate toward them. And the fourth quarter played like the first and second quarter, and they got burnt. They got burnt by it instead of doing what worked for them third and early part of that fourth quarter.
I know I can give you an exact example of when that happened. You remember when they reviewed a play where Tatum got fouled and they reviewed it to see if they were in the area, Yep. He absolutely cooked Buddy Hield on that play.
Yep.
He twice. He skated him on a crossover and then on an up fake, and then he got fouled, obviously. But my point about the whole, rushing at the half court, Tatum can do all that inside the perimeter. He can get, but they make it so he can't get to that point. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying he can't handle the ball. It's just that, get it to him inside and I don't want to call it the restricted area, but just get it outside of the perimeter and let him cook. Shake and bake, like you say. Dribble, barbecue, chicken.
That's it. If he catches that ball, as big as he is now, as fast as he is, athletic as he is, he catches that ball at the free throw line, it's a bucket. They either going to foul him, trap him, he's going to kick to somebody else. But against this team, you can't dribble up on this team. Now, I hate to bring it. You said that you don't want to make excuses because you didn't have Jaylen Brown. If Jaylen Brown's in the game, you can't double and trap Jason Tatum in those situations. Yep. And he goes off. And they were kind of caught in those situations like that. We want to put the ball in our playmakers' hands. But I think the Warriors, like Skaz said earlier, they had a game plan coming in like they're going to put the ball in Jason Tatum's hands. We're going to trap him. We're going to make somebody else beat us. And if they're not, we're not going to get out of it. And you saw Kerr shaking his head in the third quarter like, man, this dude's still killing us. What can we do? And it's like, that's when you see Tatum as an elite basketball player, MVP caliber player in those moments. And as the game went on, the Warriors still kept applying pressure. They started missing the outside shots again, and they had them right back where they were in the first half. But Tatum catching that ball in the paint, the way he's got to go in that mid-range game, and he's making his free throws, it's almost automatic now, and I think they don't go to it enough in some situations. And, well, they didn't do it enough tonight. I'm not going to say they've been doing it all season. They didn't do it when they should have tonight.
I think you make a valid point about Tatum being bigger. We're going to see a great Jason Tatum. We're already seeing it, right? He's playing at an MVP level. But he might not be able to do some of the things he used to do as a ball handler anymore.
He's too big. He's too tall.
Yeah, and hey, that's great. Like, all right, man, now get inside you know what I mean? I'm not saying down low on the box. I'm not saying any of that.
Yeah, it's not a negative.
It's just you don't see Giannis splitting double teams anymore. You know what I mean?
He's too big.
Exactly. He's getting the ball inside the paint, and then he's going to cook you. And so I hope this isn't a too high level conversation, but it's just simple things that the other team made you do where they never adjusted. And this, I guess I haven't been able to be critical enough of Joe Mazzulla because, tonight he was down. I mean, they were down Hauser too, so I don't want to use the guys.
Cornette goes down, Hauser goes down, Jaylen Brown's out.
They're still talented enough to win the game. Is my point.
They still should have won the game.
In doing the same lineup with the guards up front, I felt like maybe it had something to do with. I feel like if that happens again, Holiday has the ball and Tatum is away from the ball. But today it was exposed, and it was a great game plan.
It was, and it was a good game, man. It was a good game. I was kind of upset with the crowd. The crowd wasn't giving the vibes to match the game. That was a good game for November basketball. But look, Tatum. Here's the thing: a lot of people want to play like the Kevin Durant, the big 6'11" ball handler. But Kevin Durant is only 30 inches wide, shoulder to shoulder. He's still super skinny. He's got the same body he had when he was in Texas. He didn't get any bigger. And because of that, he can still be KD. Jason Tatum is filling out. He's a legit, if this was 1998, he'd be a power forward with a jump shot. He's got a power forward body. He's a big guy. One-on-one, can nobody stay in front of him. But when they're trapping you and you're 30 feet from the basket, you're not as quick as you used to be to get around because you're heavier. You're wider. You can't get through that. Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, they can split. Drew Holiday can't split defense because he's a wide body now. And Jaylen Brown's getting bigger. He's a wide guy. He's not really splitting guys, but one-on-one, he's going to go by you, and he's physical enough to finish. There was a play where Jason Tatum got to the basket. I think it was the end of the quarter, end of the third quarter. He goes to the basket, full speed, 5 seconds left, and he runs into Looney. And they call a foul on Looney. When they showed him meeting midair, I'm like, man, Jason Tatum is the same size as Looney. I mean, he's just as big. And Looney's a center. And you realize how big he is. So he just has to make little adjustments against certain matchups, against certain teams. But again, that comes with more experience, with more time, getting used to his build now. But look, I'm not using this as a moment to bash Jason Tatum. I think he figured it out and was really hooping today. He was balling in the third quarter. But it's just little things he can't do anymore that's kind of getting him burnt that he'll figure it out. And that's just keeping him from being, like they look at one of the top 3 players in the league. And at times he really is.
All righty, Cerrone Battle. I'm Joe Murray. We got Skaz here as well. We're going to go another hour here on the Sports Hub. Sorry, we'll get to your calls. I apologize. 617-779-0985. Hey, listen, we're not going to be able to do this a lot, Cerrone, where we can actually be critical and analyze and, hey, what went wrong and what was the other team doing? I feel like we can't do that with the Patriots anymore, right? There's just I love that.
Too much going on.
But tonight, it was about that. It was a really good game that, just the defense. It was a nice little chess game. And I have a stat. It's not even a stat. I have something that's going to blow your mind regarding tonight's game. We'll do that coming up next. First, this hour of the Sports Hub brought to you by Valvoline. It's an oil change. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your next drive through oil change at Valvoline. It's an oil change. Now open in Weymouth, Canton, Bedford, and Natick. More coming up next on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
You know what I'm going to call it? It's going to be loving.
Yeah.
A loving embrace. Loving embrace.
Yes. Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Heartfelt.
Yeah.
Working on a Derek White article. All-star Derek White? Thoughts, Cerrone?
Yeah, it should be. I mean, the whole Eastern Conference is under 500 right now. I mean, like, who's more deserving of a spot as a guard? I mean, the Knicks backcourt is really flaming out right now. They lost again tonight to the Hawks. They had Trae Young telling the fans to go home. A bad Hawks team. You know, Charlotte won over. Cade Cunningham's playing out of his mind right now, but Detroit's not winning. Charlotte's not winning with Ball. I mean, now Garland in Cleveland, he's probably going to get consideration if they keep up going where they're going right now. But Derek White, the way he's playing on both ends, he should be an all-star this year. Absolutely.
All right, there you go. Joe, my intern Joe is loving that one. He's happy to hear that one. You heard Steve Kerr coming back from break. So I said this in the pregame show, so you'll understand this. But I was one of those people that was a season ticket holder for the Patriots, and when Deflategate happened, Brady won the championship, and then they were going to raise the banner, and Roger Goodell was going to be in the building, and I was one of those people that are like, I got to be there to boo Roger Goodell. And Felger and Maz, of course, made fun of me for that. But after it happened, I felt like a loser. I booed him. I got like nothing out of it, and then I forgot about the game. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. I'm trying to bring this to light as, you know, I didn't want people to forget that these are the two best teams over the last 10 years playing a basketball game. And not to mention this year, you have a new look Warriors with the Celtics trying to do what they did before. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to compare the two. And, I felt like an idiot after. Do you think, and Skaz is ready to jump at me already.
Well, no, I think Cerrone mentioned this earlier too, but it felt like a corporate crowd tonight, didn't it? It felt like
it did.
For that game, for you know, the Tatum revenge game, Steve Kerr Olympic narrative. It was kind of a disappointing Garden crowd tonight.
I was hoping for more boos. I booed Goodell harder than the fans booed Kerr today.
Yeah, I think, you know, Skaz is right. Corporate crowd is exactly what you had tonight. The camera pans around and everybody there was like, you know, way older than what you thought would have been at this particular game. But when you have these high profile games and the high ticket prices, you know, you have different fan base. And it was really late in the game. It was showing the crowd. They were sitting down. Like 3 minutes left. There's fans just sitting. You seen a few up standing, cheering. And mostly was sitting down. And you assumed that this game, before we even knew the Warriors were going to be a decent team, we just knew the place was going to be rocking for this game. And now you got a team in there that's undefeated or got one loss, whatever the Warriors are right now. You got Steph Curry lighting it up. Him and Tatum going back and forth in the third quarter. Great game. And everybody's sitting on their hands. I'm like, this thing should be out of control to where the Warriors players looked as nervous as Neemias Queta did late in that game. You didn't make them uncomfortable at all late. Now, you had Draymond making his free throws. I mean, they weren't uncomfortable by the home crowd, at all in that game tonight. And I thought the fans, I'm sorry, y'all, I don't think the fans really showed up for that one tonight the way they should have.
All right, we'll get to the phone, 617-779-0985. We have Carl in Westfield. Hey, Carl.
Hey, Joe, Cerrone, you guys are great. You're spot on. It's constructive criticism and honesty that the Kerr came in with the game plan. And you're also right. That was the Wall Street crowd with the swashbuckler gold minus the emotion. We need the Main Street crowd. And brains like you guys are able to analyze. And I've been listening to you for a while, and you're all spot on. You know, Cerrone mentioned they didn't make the adjustments to the third quarter. And both our losses, they didn't even play in the first half. Golden State came out and was 1 for 11. And we don't have a Jalen Porzingis, and that wasn't Drew Holiday. He clearly couldn't score, and he's not himself. So it's basically two guys versus a full-strength team with the game plan. And, Joe, you were fair and honest. When he kept trying to split the two players, and he passed it off, and then they missed. So he's in a rock and a hard place, you know. they say hindsight and looking back isn't a philosophy or a strategy, but it is an opportunity to avoid the mistakes and prevent this in the future. And imagine having Jalen and Porzingis and Holiday on point. And Derek White is an all-star. He can ruin anybody. And you don't worry about what Steph Curry can do. You know, as an all-state wrestler, I don't give a crud what you can do. I'm focused on what I'm going to do to stop you and interrupt you. And they kind of gave Curry a free pass. And Derek White could have been on him like white on rice. I've seen Derek White ruin people's games. So this was, our second loss, and similar to the first loss where we made bad decisions. We didn't have offense, and we didn't really crash the boards. And again, it's fair to say it was really Derek, Kojak, White, and Tatum versus the Golden State Warriors, and we still almost beat them. You know, and imagine we came down. We were down 22 in the fourth quarter and came back and tied up Indiana. This team is going to be wicked when they pull it together, when they listen to you guys, and Missoula could learn a lot from listening to you, because you're both exactly right, and Skaz is exactly right. You guys should give yourself credit.
Hey, thank you, Carl. All right. That guy was very positive. All of a sudden I feel like we have a good bounce into the final hour of the show right there. It felt like I just got blessed or something. I don't know. I felt like I just was at Sacred Heart, and they were like, Joe, you guys know exactly what you're talking about. No, I actually am being serious when I say, I was just telling Skaz this off the air, Cerrone. Like, the teams either suck so bad or they're so good that we really can't analyze, and
yeah, it's hard.
And yes, to that caller's point, I wish that the Celtics didn't just settle to the, okay, you're going to see the double team, what's going to happen next. I also want to be on the other side of it where, man, when Tatum was making the right throws, the guys could not hit the shots. One other thing we noticed when we were watching the game together, Horford would get the ball wide open near the elbow of near the three, and then he would pass it to the corner. It's like, do they have this fascination with the corner three? Because I thought he needs to be more aggressive, because when he's playing like that, then it changes the way they can defend as well.
Yeah. Now his man isn't cheating. His man isn't going to trap because they're so worried about him hitting the three. And you saw Allen, he hit a three with I think it was 41 seconds left. They called timeout. They inbound the ball immediately to Horford. He sidesteps, hits a three, bang, like it's in 2 seconds. And you're like, dude, where was that the whole game? Like, if you're aggressive, his man, now Looney has to come out there. Or Draymond, whoever's on him, has to come out there when he's aggressive. Now when Tatum drives, you don't have that extra man standing there trying to take a charge or reaching for the ball. So I think Al has to be aggressive in those moments, and he can hit that three. We know that. He can shoot 40% from out there. And I think he could have been a little more aggressive tonight. But I think they got burnt with the points in the paint. I think the Warriors still ended up with 51 points in the paint. Celtics only had 34 or something like that. I think they could have gone to the paint a little more. And there's just little things they could have done to win this game. But they are so good. They're hard to analyze. They're hard to break down. They're hard to criticize because they're so dominant at times. But there was, this Warriors team came in with a game plan, a strategy to take Tatum away. He's not going to ruin us and give us 40. We're not going to let this team beat us by 57 like they did the last time they came into the Garden. So they came out and treated it like a playoff game, and I think the Celtics were late to respond to that kind of atmosphere. They got punched in the face and was like, "Oh man, I didn't know we was in a fight today." And by then it was too late. But they were up 14-3, and they had a chance to bury him then, and they just kind of shot themselves in the foot. But yeah, man, they still had a chance to win that game. They're that talented. They're that good. But I think losing Cornette, yes, he wasn't dominant in the box score, but he allows Horford and allows Cater to rest. Losing Hauser late in the game when he got poked in the eye, whatever, it shrinks the floor now because you lose your floor spacer in those key moments. I think all those things played into the Warriors pulling away late in that game. But the Celtics, they're a good team. They're going to be there late. And they're going to be hard to beat when they have a full strength.
All right, this is the stat that I wanted to bring up. This one is a doozy. Did you know that the Warriors scored on every single possession under 4 minutes?
That's crazy.
I pulled it up. I have the play-by-play open on ESPN right now. Every single possession that they had led to a point. Whether it was a foul shot, a made jumper, or a basket, every single possession they had, there was offensive rebounds. I'm sure you saw plenty of I'm looking at 114. Tatum blocks Steph Curry on a driving layup. Looney offensive rebound. Looney makes 2-point shot. Right. Buddy Hield, 26'3" with 47 seconds left. Let's see here. Draymond Green makes and it was free throws the rest of the way. So I mean, every single possession they had. I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but yeah, Wiggins pull up, Steph Curry 2-point jumper, Hield 2-point shot. Every single possession they scored. So as much as I want to get on the offense, because clearly it struggled tonight, I thought it was their defense because they were flawless down the stretch.
Yeah, that's crazy. And to think the Celtics cut that thing to 3 with like 15 seconds left, and Draymond misses his first free throw.
The free throw was what they missed. Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's just they got it going offensively, but they couldn't get those stops. And when we had the caller on, I was thinking of something. I think when you deal with Steph Curry, when you there's no Klay Thompson, there's no Kevin Durant out there, you have to decide what you're going to do, how you're going to play this. Are you going to let Steph go to work, or are you going to completely eliminate him and make everybody else beat you? And I think in that fourth quarter, the last 4 minutes, the Celtics played in purgatory. They just stood in the middle and didn't do either one and got burnt on both sides. They should have treated Steph the way the Warriors treated Tatum early. The minute he crosses half court, we're trapping him, getting the ball out of his hands, and never letting him get it back. That's the way they should have treated Steph Curry. Instead, they kind of stood around, kind of playing like a zone, kind of watching him. What should I do? What should I do? And they got beat back door. Okay, what should I do? Oh, nope. Steph with a quick jab step, he gets a wide open corner 3. Oh, should I be extra aggressive? No, you pull his arm, he goes to the foul line. Draymond goes to the foul line. They didn't take anything away, and they didn't make a decision. I think in that fourth quarter, they should have made a decision to say, okay, we're either going to play this dude straight up and eliminate everybody else, or we're going to eliminate him and make, Kyle Anderson beat us. And they didn't make a decision and got caught in the middle there and got burnt by everybody down the stretch. I mean, it's scoring in every possession. I mean, it's plain as day.
Just had to look at it just because to bring it back up, Steph Curry had 2 fouls on the night, and they continue to not go at him late in games.
Mm-hmm.
That's
fresh legs.
That is just... Man, you don't learn your lesson. I will say this, though. They didn't attack him in that last game, and then they beat them by 52 points. Tonight, I know the Celtics were on demand. They still should have won this game with a lead, but I want to get into the Warriors a little bit more on the other side. They are the new-look Warriors as well.
Yeah.
Let's get into that. We'll do more with Cerrone. We got Skaz here as well. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe.
back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. We're going late tonight. Cerrone Battle's here. James Scaramuzzino, part of the Green Teamers podcast. I'm sure this will be a much talked about show at the end of the week because they have Brooklyn coming up next, and they play Milwaukee again on Saturday night. So, I wouldn't say it's the toughest stretch here, but I wanted to talk about the Warriors, Cerrone. They're a much different team. No longer are the Splash Brothers. Who would have thought Buddy Hield would be the bench shooter that they need? But he has been absolutely incredible, especially with Curry missing the last couple of games. And now they're starting to see the young players develop. Now, we didn't see Podsy tonight. He was dealing with an illness, Podzinski. But Kuminga's coming along now. Trace Jackson-Davis, remember he had a big block last year against the Celtics. Mm-hmm. They have these guys that they drafted but also got as free agents, and they still have Draymond, still have Wiggins. I look at them and say, that team, if healthy, they're going to be trouble. And right now, I think maybe them in Oklahoma City would probably be the two best teams in the West.
Yeah, they're tough, man. They're real tough. And the biggest thing they have going for them right now is buy-in. You got 13 guys willing to play their role. It doesn't matter, And the reason their bench seems so strong is because you have starter talent willing to come off the bench. And, their starting lineup doesn't look that great or fantastic, but they just put Steph out there and Draymond, and they figure they can make the guys around them better. And then you bring a Buddy Hield off the bench or Gary Payton or whatever, or Kuminga, and those guys should be starters or starters anywhere around the league, but they're willing to come off the bench and play their role. So now there's this balance, and there isn't a talent drop off between the bench and the starters, and that's their advantage. Can they keep it up all season? Can Buddy Hield stay healthy? I think that's going to be the big question for them, but that's a great coaching staff. You have an all-time great leader still playing like he's 29 years old. You have a really smart team with a smart core. You're going to win a vast majority of your games if those guys are healthy. And OKC has the talent, but I don't know if they're mentally as smart as this Warriors team if they're all there and they're all healthy. That's the Warriors, the Thunder, to me, they're the Celtics from like 4 or 5 years ago. All the talent in the world, they're going to make deep playoff runs, but the decision-making is not going to be there. They're just not old enough yet. They haven't played enough games, not enough seasoning. But this Warriors team they got all the season in the world. They know how to win close games. And if they're in these situations, they're going to pull them out. So this is a good team, well coached. And I didn't see it coming, so you got to give Kerr's got the early nod for Coach of the Year right now. So in my opinion, yeah. No one said. I think people had them not even making the playoffs. So for them to be where they're at now, playing like this, you got to give Kerr the credit. They didn't. Buddy Hield making that much of a difference. Nobody saw that happening, and to get him to come off the bench and be just as productive as Klay Thompson has been the last 3-4 years. Yeah, you got to give Kerr. I think he's got the early nod right now, in my opinion.
I got to look up. I just saw. Do you get those odds, guys?
No, but I would agree with Cerrone. I think it's Kerr and it's probably Kenny Atkinson with Cleveland.
Yes.
Cleveland's been awesome as well. But yeah, a lot of people didn't expect the Warriors to be, anywhere near the top of the West, and some didn't even expect them to be in the top 8. So they deserve a ton of credit because it's their defense. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league, especially at covering the 3. And I wouldn't have expected that going into the season.
No, not at all. They were a play-in team last year.
Who's like the defensive coach for the Warriors? Or
Jerry Stackhouse is over there.
Stackhouse, I think,
saw that. Yeah. The other thing I want to say is, Myers gets all the credit, right, for building the Golden State Warriors or whatever. Does he get credit for all these guys now? He wasn't there last year, right? And Podzinski was.
I believe it's Mike Dunleavy now.
Okay.
Who's
the younger Mike Dunleavy, right?
Yes, Mike Dunleavy Jr., yes.
But this is now when you talk about franchises, right? After they've had their golden era, how do they shift into the next era? Well, they've paid Draymond, they've paid Steph Curry that long deal, and Wiggins is still around. They could probably move him if they had to, right? But now, again, you're getting what you get out of here. Gary Payton, right? Moses Moody. They just found all these guys that were good college players, experienced college players, that in a year or two, they can be starters in the league.
Yeah, and just looking at Mike Dunleavy Jr., so he's been with the Warriors for 6 seasons. He was their pro scout, their assistant general manager, and their vice president of basketball operations. So I'm sure him and Bob Myers were hand in hand in selecting a lot of these guys. So he deserves a lot of credit as well.
And they had James Wiseman,
who, yeah, they traded to Indy and he tore his ACL.
But the number 2 overall pick in the draft they got. Yet all these other, let's call them late round picks, now develop and are starters on their team and can play that system. It's just I'm giving them credit because I'm thinking about the Celtics in the future too. You know?
Yeah, they have an identity. They have a style. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put our athletes on the wings. We're going to be athletic. We're going to battle on the glass. We're going to be a smart team. We're going to move the ball, and we're going to funnel it through our Hall of Fame point guard who, I hate the fact that guys like Steph Curry and guys like Kevin Durant aren't getting the same, wow, look what they're doing at 36 years old, like we did with LeBron James a couple years ago. These guys are still putting up monster numbers. He's 36 and he's uncoverable at times. And he's moving the ball. Guys know where to be. He's leading this team. And when you have the buy-in around a superstar like that and guys playing their role and Buddy Hield willing to take a back seat, but yet still be able to play free in this offense, man, you got to give this team a ton of credit. You got to give the guys who built this team, the guys coaching this team, to get Buddy Hield and Steph Curry to play defense, at this point in their career is crazy, but they're doing it. To get Gary Payton at times is playing power forward. And he's, yes, coach, I'll do it. I'll go down there. No problem. I got it. And they're doing it. Kuminga, they had the issues with him last year off and on. People thought he was going to be a budding star. It's like, no, we need you off the bench. You're going to get your 17. We just need you to do it from the bench. And he's bought in and he's doing it. And Looney has just been steady. He doesn't say a word. You never hear about. No one knows how much he makes, where he lives, what he sounds like.
I've never heard his voice ever.
Like, wait, I think he plays for the Warriors. Anybody's been there forever, and they just have this buy-in, and they play their role. When you play your role on the NBA level, that we saw with the Celtics, they brought all these stars in, and we were concerned about who's going to sacrifice, who's going to buy in, and they did, and they became almost unbeatable. The more teams you have do that, the harder they are to beat, and you're seeing it around the league. The Knicks, they're not sure if it's Towns' team or Brunson's team. Look what's going on in Milwaukee. Once Dame came in, it got worse because you don't know. Dame doesn't know what he's going to do. Should I be a point guard first or be a scorer? Giannis, should I play off the ball? Should I get the ball? Firing the coach a couple games in. Adrian Griffin had him winning games. You're seeing it all around the league in situations where it's not working. And the Warriors, they got it going. You mentioned the Cavs. They fired their coach. We thought they were crazy. They were off to a hot start. Everybody's playing their role. So you got to give these new coaches a ton of credit for the way they turn these teams around.
I'm just talking about you mentioned Gary Payton, Kyle Anderson. Like, come on, these guys were great college players who had a lot of promise in the league that kind of was given up on, right? Payton, Anderson, Waters, where the hell did this guy come from? Moses Moody was a star at Arkansas because Jordan Walsh was on the team the next year. And then Trace Jackson was a stud at Indiana, right? But, these are just guys, they must have fell to them late in the draft because everyone wanted the next prospect. This is how you build a team and how you move on from one just championship era to the next, and I still think they got another move in them. Cerrone,
they do.
Maybe it is Wiggins, maybe it's Kuminga in a trade, But they have another move in them, and I feel like they've really transitioned well.
Yeah, when you're 13 deep, you can make moves. You can package players together for something big because you have depth, you have talent, you have pieces people want. Like I said, Wiggins didn't look right tonight. But there's some team out there that's really good that can use Wiggins as another guy to kind of feel like they're putting him over the top or something like that. If he's good to go. But yeah, they have a move in them and they're going to do something. I just worry about them staying healthy. Draymond, Steph, Buddy Hield. Injuries has cost this team the last few years. Just being able to stay through it all the way through has been the problem for them. But yeah, they've got something going on. And you touched on something. They drafting guys that were college stars, that were studs on the college level. Too many teams are drafting these guys that play 6-7 games. They're drafting on potential as opposed to what they're doing. You see Zach Edey.
I almost just said
back National Player of the Year goes 9th. And now who's the favorite to win Rookie of the Year? Zach Edey.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Memphis. He had a monster game the other. He hitting threes. He's dunking on people, catching lobs from John Morant. I'm like, this dude's 7'10", and he's out there with crazy skill and heavy weight. He's doing everything. And they're like, man, where'd this come from? He was the National Player of the Year back-to-back seasons. This dude gave UConn, 35 or something like that? He's got talent. But they went for the sexy prospect, some of the guys from France. They're trying to get the next Wemby, the next Luka, these superstar guys that they're trying to get before anybody else does. And most of them end up as busts. But you have these guys that are dominating on the college level 1, 2, 3 years, and they fall late into the draft, and they end up helping the good teams continue to be good. And they're like, dag, Hauser falling to being on the Celtics squad, got to doing what he did in college level.
Yep.
The good teams keep staying
Peyton
better
Pritchard.
because they're getting these guys late in the draft.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And it's funny, I just happened to look up. Edey is the favorite. Bob Carrington's been pretty good, but nobody knows about him because he's in Washington. And then Memphis also has Jalen Wells that's playing pretty well, and I'm sure it's with Marcus Smart being hurt and Edey being on the team, it's helping him. But Sarr has been okay. Ryan Dunn with the Suns has been okay. Reece Arshea.
He had 30 tonight. Yeah. He became the first teenager ever, I think, to score like 33 points or something like that in the NBA.
Wow. And another veteran like Dalton Connects, another guy that fell late to the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he's a player, but I just to name those, not a lot of the besides Reece Arshea being the number 1 overall pick from France. The rest of these guys were all known college players that are doing double digits in the NBA.
Yeah, and keep an eye on, I think late in the year, he's really going to blow up. Robert Dillingham, man, is incredible. Rob Dillingham is incredible. He didn't play defense well, but he's got superstar potential. And hey, look, man, I don't know how these guys didn't go top in the draft, but it benefits the better teams. You get a team, and they got traded in the draft. They drafted Dillingham, and then he gets traded to Minnesota. I'm like, why would you give a team that was in the Western Conference Finals Robert Dillingham? And they did. And this, imagine him with Wemby as opposed to Chris Paul for the next 5 years. You know what I'm saying? And the Spurs didn't get much better, and Memphis got themselves a young point guard to play with Ant Edwards for the next decade if they really stick together. But yeah, it was so much good talent to spawn the good teams.
That dude Dillingham, by the way, in Minnesota, they want him to play more, and they're obviously they like what they have, but it's Edwards that's been calling for him to play a little bit more there. Yeah, I haven't we've only 10 games into the year, but it's been easy to kind of see who's good and who's bad. And the Eastern Conference, it's not good. But the whole entire league this year, I don't know if it's down. I mean, clearly in the East, it's not looking so well. I mean, Cleveland's 9-0, but everybody else is right around 500. And
injuries.
The Western Conference: Suns, Thunder, Golden State, and then everybody else is right around 5-3. So
look at the rosters. You got Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Orlando, I think, got off to a quick hard start, but Banchero goes down. You got Embiid's not playing. Paul George just came back. You got Giannis out. Their situation's a mess down there. So you got Milwaukee, Philly, teams that we thought would be contenders are on the bottom. So in Orlando, we thought we're going to be up there. They dealt with injuries already. So, the Eastern Conference is really beat up. And I think the West is old. We're banking on the LeBron James in LA. They win 4 in a row. Now they done lost 4 in a row. Anthony Davis is already out with an injury or whatever tonight. They lose, get blown up by Memphis. So, yeah, it's a weird situation right now, but we'll see how it plays out as time goes on.
By the way, a record was broken tonight in the Western Conference, or tied, I should say. Jokic had 23 points, 20 rebounds, 16 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. He's the only player over the last 40 years with a 20-20-15. You know who the other player to do that was?
Rondo.
Russell Westbrook.
That's right.
I thought it was Rondo. Did Rondo have a playoff game close to that?
I think he might have had like 20 assists in that playoff game or something.
Yeah,
like
he didn't.
that.
I don't think he didn't score 20 points. I think he had like 18, 20, and like 17 rebounds. Something crazy like that.
Biggest non-story in basketball is the greatest player on the planet has no support. His support is in washed up Russell Westbrook.
And I think he played great tonight. Did they win that game? Did they end up winning?
You know, it's funny. I had my eye on it earlier. I know that he had a monster game. Wow, you like the Westbrook move?
No, I'm not a fan. Westbrook to me, he's a short Giannis.
Yeah, they did win 124, 122.
Oh,
wow.
They came back.
Yeah.
They were down big in that game.
I don't like the Westbrook move either, but I did see they're 3-0 with Westbrook as a starter, which is just kind of an odd.
29. We went 29-6 tonight, Westbrook.
And to Cerrone's Rondo thing, March 4th, 2012, Rondo had 18 points, 17 rebounds, and 20 assists.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
In a slower paced NBA, it wasn't wide open like it is now. And he did that.
Playoff Rondo. It was a
national TV Rondo.
So smart, man. He was so smart.
All right. Well, we'll continue the conversation here on the other side. I haven't really dug. I'm glad you're here, Cerrone, because I haven't really dug around the rest of the league. It's just been kind of, I've been doing that King of Court on DraftKings. It's you try to basically bet who will have the most points, assists, and whoever's the like Bonchero won it, then got hurt. Jokic has done it. LeBron did it one night, and every night I think it's going to be Tatum, and then but it's a nice little thing. But Jokic just continues to just absolutely dominate. We'll take a break. We'll get to the headlines here. More with Cerrone. I'm Joe here on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics lose 118-112 tonight. It was not good. They had a lead in the fourth quarter, and then they fell apart. All right, back here 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Got Cerrone Battle here. Skaz. I have a couple more takeaways for tonight, Cerrone. Anything else from you before we get on out of here on this late night?
No, just the quick comments that Mazzulla made. I think it was at halftime where he was telling the team, where they talked about on ESPN, that we're going to have to play a different style. We're going to have to figure out a different way to win, and you guys are going to have to figure that out. So I think he kind of used this as a learning moment for this team, a teaching moment for this team. And for most of it, they passed the test, but they fell back to old habits late in the game. But I'm glad that even though they won a championship, they're still figuring out new ways on how to win and how to be effective and make them better later in the year.
So one thing I wanted to mention here, the Celtics had a 14-2 advantage in second chance points in the third quarter alone.
Wow.
Fourth quarter, the Warriors won the 50-50 ball 10-6. And there's a few of those I'm sure you could think of, right? Front rimming, them getting the ball, scoring in transition. One tapped out to Curry, and he knocks down the three. They're just the 50-50 ball. We probably don't look at it in the long run, but that also, maybe that's effort. Maybe it was just positioning. I don't know. But I go back to Drew Holiday not looking right, man, and I don't know, with Brown now and Porzingis, unknown, and man, they can't have something happen to him, because then they'd be digging deep into their bench.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It was times where he was moving fast. He was moving, looked like he was moving okay, but his just shots weren't going down. He was being aggressive at times. He just wasn't hitting the shots. And I think all of them were cold for a good stretch, except for Tatum at one point. Drew Holiday got off. I mean, Derek White got going early. But I think they settled, and we go back to criticizing the threes. I think they settled for too many threes at too many times, as opposed to being aggressive with Steph Curry and Buddy Hield when they were on the court and make them play defense. I think Holiday had enough energy to post those guys up. I think Derek White could have gone at Curry a lot more, as opposed to taking 16 threes, 16 of his 19 shots being threes. And he could have got to the foul line a little more by being aggressive. And I think it let Hield and Curry off the hook. And they had their fresher legs late in the game, and they burned you. They burned you with those fresh legs, and they had plenty fouls to give. They were just good to go. And that you let them off the hook and should have took advantage early in that game. But they'll learn from that. And I'm curious to see what this looks like when they go to Golden State and play this game again.
All right, sir. Our final call of the night is Sarko. He's been calling in over the last couple of nights. He's from, I think he's in Malden, but from Roxbury. Sarko, say hello to Cerrone.
I said, Dorchester, Roxbury. How you doing, my friend?
How you doing, man? What's going on?
Okay. No, the thing is, right, I was calling in because, like, honestly, I've never been able to talk to Cerrone, and you're the man, like I already told you. So, Cerrone, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing all right, man. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there, brother. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens, I'm at work right now, and like you said, I've been calling in here and there. But it is what it is. You got to work. Got to make a living. But, I just wanted to say one thing. Can we just give a shout out? I didn't get to watch the game tonight because of the 65th birthday of my mom today. So that's why I was celebrating my mom's birthday, and I'm working late tonight, and I'm doing what I have to do to, you know what I'm saying, make ends in, and then just for her. You know what I mean? You got me?
Yeah, shout out your moms, man. 65.
Yeah, man, thank you. Her name is Idalia.
Idalia, shout out to you. Happy birthday.
65th birthday for Idalia, man. But I really appreciate. I'm always calling. I didn't get a chance, like I told Skies, to watch the game because of that. You know what I mean? So I can't give my opinion on the game. I didn't even hear it.
Well, Sarko, you can listen to our podcast. We got a podcast. No. Go listen to it. We got a whole recap.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go. I'm sorry. We're up against it. But that's Sarko. So he'll be calling in, Cerrone. He's from the area, so he's always welcome. All right. Great analysis as